This is KGW News at Sunrise.
While firefighters are working to put out 2 large wildfires in Oregon right now, researchers say earlier starting and more active fire seasons could become the norm moving forward.
It's not as though we fully accept that we've lost Michael and life just goes on. So life doesn't just go on.
Yeah, gun violence makes news almost every morning, but behind the headlines are stories of families dealing with that loss. And today, KGW will focus much of the day on gun violence. This morning, we're going to hear from this father who lost his son.
Portland is open. We want to welcome people back. We have a lot of fans, and we wanted to say, come see us.
Travel Portland's newest campaign is focusing on the positive, how the city is enticing tourists to come back and visit.
Here's a reason to visit. Our sunrises are just a little bit better than everyone else's. There's really only like 2 months of the year where we can show you a beautiful sunrise shot at 5:01 in the morning.
Gorgeous.
This would be that part of the year. Gorgeous start to our morning. It is a Tuesday. Look who's back with us in studio. Nina, for one, after a 3-day weekend. And then Rod.
Was out live yesterday.
Well, you were more than just live
big
yesterday.
time.
You were on the Today Show yesterday.
Well, I was on the stream of Mr. Roker yesterday. It was like this little YouTube channel for people that aren't quite big time, but think that they could be someday.
You're big time to us.
You weren't on the actual show?
I don't think so.
Oh, wow. Never mind.
I called them, but they wouldn't answer my phone. All right, we have mostly clear skies out there this morning. Let me get on this side. 66 is the early number. I'm so happy to tell you we will break the heat today. Yesterday, 97 was a record for the day. Today, 77 at noon, and I have us stopping at 86 with partly cloudy skies for a high temperature.
All right, Rod. We're going to start our news this half hour with the extreme fire risk right now for parts of Oregon. Rod will talk in his next weather segment about the possibility of thunderstorms in parts of the state today, and that's why the State Fire Marshal's Office is pulling firefighting resources from Washington and Marion counties to Central Oregon.
Yeah, they're going to be there for the next 3 days, possibly longer, ready to really jump on any fire starts wherever they may be. Last night, 13 new but very small fires sparked from some storms, as a much larger fire continues to burn on the Warm Springs Reservation that's northeast of Mount Hood. It's called the S503 fire. This one started on Friday, and it's grown to more than 6,200 acres. Crews are starting to get some control over it. It's now 10% contained. There are some get set evacuation notices for some very rural areas on the reservation's north border, but it's far from the town of Warm Springs and Highway 26.
But we're not taking any chances. We want to be ready if something happens.
The cause of this one is still under investigation. Experts say it's really concerning to see fires grow to this size so early in the year.
Start to finish, this year's fire season may be worse than last year's. Severe drought conditions are the big reason why. Experts from the state of Oregon and Oregon State University sat down yesterday to discuss the fires that are burning right now. They were quick to point out the S503 fire near Warm Springs and the Cutoff fire in Klamath County are both in the driest parts of the state. Crews on the ground say the conditions they're seeing right now aren't usually seen in Oregon until at least July. The experts at yesterday's meeting all seem to agree that this pattern of an earlier fire season, it will continue.
There are always going to be anomalously dry years, anomalously wet years, you name it. There's always going to be an anomaly. The overall trend is consistent with what has been projected and observed as climate changes.
So because of that, we may see some changes moving forward. To prevent more fires from growing, burn bans and other restrictions may be increased, and some areas may be closed or just be put off limits altogether.
Okay, turning now to take a look at COVID and the state's reopening. Governor Kate Brown says she'll ease restrictions as soon as 70% of people 18 and up get at least 1 dose of the vaccine. And we are close. As of this morning, the CDC says that number is 68.7%. Another 44,000 people or so need to get their first shot to put us over the top. Oregon is averaging about 3,100 first doses a day. At that rate, it would be another couple of weeks before we reach 70%. Now let's get to 3 things to know about COVID. Number 1, Portland Community College says it will not be requiring students or staff to be vaccinated this fall. That is the opposite of most public universities in Oregon and Washington that are requiring students to be vaccinated. PCC says several factors led to this decision. A survey shows student and staff vaccination rates already exceed the 70% target by the state. Officials also say a requirement would create a barrier to marginalized communities. PCC does offer free vaccine clinics every Friday. Number 2, now we know how much the mask site at the convention center helped the state's vaccination effort. The final tally shows 550,000 shots given out since it started in January. That covers almost 300,000 people. The site closed Saturday. At number 3, Canada still off limits. The northern border will remain closed to non-essential travel for at least another month. The restrictions put in place at the start of the pandemic were supposed to expire yesterday, but Canada announced an extension to their border closure late Friday. Those are your 3 things to know right now.
We want to get back to the gun violence that we mentioned at the top of the show. That, along with the riots and the homeless crisis here, have all damaged the city's reputation.
And that's why Travel Portland has launched a new national campaign to try and draw tourists back. Tim Gordon talked to the people behind this campaign.
This is Portland, but so is this. And this. We're not sure what this is, but it's Portland, and it's across the street from this.
It's a summer ad campaign from Travel Portland, a video showing how unique we are. The same script is laid out in big ads in the New York Times, the Los Angeles Times, and other major papers. Travel Portland's Jeff Miller says the message boils down to this.
Portland is open. We want to welcome people back. We have a lot of fans, and we wanted to say, come see us.
But look around Portland, and you know it's not that simple. Along with the pandemic, a homeless crisis has grown and gripped the city. There's so much of it up near Columbia Edgewater Golf Course that the LPGA's Cambia Portland Classic just announced it's moving to the Oregon Golf Club in West Lynn for this September's event. Tom Miletus says it was a tough decision, but health and safety concerns came first.
There's be nothing more than I'd like to have our 50th at Columbia Edgewater. But the circumstances, getting the input, doing our due diligence, we just felt that at this point in time in making a decision, that's the decision we had to make.
The city has had national and international exposure for persistent protesting, too. Many would say that's not bad, but the violence and damage done by a relatively small group of people and police clashing with them is not a good look for potential visitors. And a trend seen in other cities around the country, gun violence is way up and homicides are on the rise.
There's a river that cuts through the middle of our town.
This video doesn't show you that, but it does show there is so much to love about Portland. From our bridges to our food scene making a comeback, to the diversity of people and thinking, to the views.
I think the message is that Portland is an amazing place, and people have talked a lot about us in the press and around the world, and we wanted to really put a stake in the ground on who we are as Portlanders. And I hope we did that.
And oh yeah,
Let's go in Portland!
the Grand Prix of Portland is back on this September at Portland International Raceway. In fact, the race committed to the next 3 years. And Travel Portland predicts an acceleration of visitors here. Tim Gordon, KGW News.
All right, that report from Tim brings us to our poll this morning. How would you describe Portland? Now, we're only giving you 2 choices. Here they are: a place to visit or a place to avoid. Right now, we've just had this open for a few minutes, and it is pretty much split right down the middle, 50-50. A place to visit or a place to avoid, how would you describe Portland? You can jump onto our KGW Sunrise Twitter page, and this poll is pinned right to the top. Or if you don't use Twitter, if you'd rather text us, you can text us your response, and you can add a little bit to it as well if you'd like. 503-226-5088 is the text line.
Well, a group is also working to help boost Portland tourism with an emphasis on safety and acceptance. It's called Travel Gay Portland, and it offers a visitor center and network of LGBTQ affirming businesses. The center is located connected to the local clothing store Under You for Men in downtown. People can check their luggage there for free as they wander the city and get connected with LGBTQ safe spaces. The new Moxie Hotel is one of the new ones on that list, working to avoid experiences some LGBTQ people face.
They might just look at you and think, that you're different and why are you here? When I do my research, I want to make sure the neighborhood's safe, but there hasn't been any spike in hate crimes around that property. I'll walk through the door and not feel judged and feel welcome.
The center and network of safe spaces are not just for tourists, it's for anyone in Portland to enjoy and share with friends.
All right, we have a daily Sunrise pre-show meeting at 4 a.m. And during that meeting, Rod, you told us it's a pretty busy day for you. You're covering a lot here.
Yeah, weather-wise across all of our region, a lot of headlines to get you caught up on. Number one, in red, fire weather warning today. Now, this extends from near Medford, Lakeview, the Klamath Basin, up through Bend, up into parts of the Warm Springs Reservation where you have that large fire burns up into Baker City. That paler color is actually a heat advisory posted for that part of eastern Oregon. We've had at least a couple of lightning strikes detected overnight. You can see the action is going to be coming up from south to north, and there could be several rounds of thunderstorms across that part of the state today. And there's the chance of a thunderstorm. We've had some problems with our monitor going out. Sorry about that. There's a problem with the possibility, rather, some thunderstorms firing along the Cascades later today as well. Here's a live camera over in Sun River. This is at back of their lodge, and there you can see Mount Bachelor, but clearly some cloudiness up top. And Futurecast does show there's a thunderstorm along the Cascades at 3 this afternoon. Doesn't show a lot, generally speaking, and it could actually be underdoing this storm threat. There's another storm threat around Bend tomorrow afternoon at 2:30. I apologize for the monitor. Let me see if it's going to come back. All right. Temperatures in the 80s today statewide for the most part inland. So that's at least a break from the heat from what we have been seeing. Here's a 7-day forecast. 86 in Portland today. We could stay in the 80s through Thursday. Look at this. 100 Saturday, 102 Sunday. Quite frankly, I didn't have the heart to put 100 on Monday, so I put 98. But we have potentially some extreme heat coming for a number of days over this weekend, guys.